And we're going to start with a roll call.
All right, Adams. Here. Bailey. Here. Bordelon. Here. Casper. Here. Chase. Here. DeSiller Fleming. Here. Frickman. Here. Gustafson. Hanscom. I know she's here. Katowski. Here. Lambert. Marley. Marshall. Martin. Here. Massett. Here. McDermott. Here. Melendez. Here. Mello Miller. Here. Merritt. Here. Monahan. Here. Newsom. Here. Oliver. Here. Pasqualini. Perry. Here. Powers. Here. Pacino. Quinn. Oh, she's on there, right? Yeah. Richards. Here. Rogers. Here. Stanford. Here. Starkley. Here. Stevenson. Here. Irma Streeter. Here. James Streeter. Here. Strode. Here. Washington. Here. Wells. Here. Whitehouse. Whitney. And Evan.
Here. Hanscom just walked in.
And there's Whitney, so we have Whitney 32.
32?
32.
All right, we have 32, so we have a quorum. And I did receive correspondence from Representative Quinn, Lambert, and Marshall that they will not be here this evening. In fact, well, Lambert and Marshall, I believe, aren't going to be at any of the next few. And I wanted to note that today is Representative Richards' birthday.
You're not supposed to do that.
Why? I also wanted to note, so happy birthday. I also wanted to note that May 6th is the school referendum, and I'd like to encourage everyone to get out to vote. The polls will be open 6 a.m. to 8 p.m., and absentee ballots are available still, and this is an important referendum, so please get out and vote. And it's also the City of Groton's election day on May 6th for all you guys in District 2 and 3. So,
one note that I wanted to make, if you leave during the meeting for good, you know, you're actually leaving, please make sure that I see that you're leaving. So, you know, wave your hands and tell you, right, exactly, just like Representative Adams, right. So I can, otherwise, you know, I need to keep track of the actual count of who's here for a quorum, okay?
all right, so I think a few things I just want to start out before we plow into public safety. Sorry.
Pull your mic closer.
It's good that I'm not being heard, I guess. We have a really long agenda tonight, and so I just want to note that if it gets too late, we do have another optional day, which is the 13th that I've reserved, so you know, just keep that in mind. So we don't have to take new items after 10. If that's the body's desire, we can check in then. And I think there was one other thing I was going to say, but I don't remember it. So we're going to start out with public safety. Oh, I did have a request at the last meeting. Instead of reading all the minutes and then going to the votes, I was wondering if we could perhaps, I would entertain discussion momentarily, brief discussion on if one member felt it was better to just read the minutes that were referring to that vote and then go on. And then at the end, when we've finished all the items at that of that meeting, we can vote on it. It does kind of separate the vote from hearing all the minutes, so we could have a refresher then. The problem is just keeping the summary of the committee meeting fresh in our minds when we attack each account. So does that seem like a way to go? I know it was Representative Casper who suggested it, so I'm pretty sure that's what he wants, but is anyone opposed to that? Okay.
So moved.
Okay. Sounds fine. So Representative Streeter, could you please lead us off with the Public Safety Committee's minutes?
Sure, just by way of announcement, by the way, my wife and I have got a little gift for everybody's effort back there. It's a tote bag with the Groton logo on it or whatever, so you can carry your books with you, because they are quite heavy. Okay. The Representative Town Meeting Public Safety Committee met on April 18th, 2019 in classrooms 1 and 2 at the Senior Center to consider fiscal year 2020 public safety budget account 1024. Members present were Representatives Pasqualini, Powers, Richards, and Streeter. Also, RTM moderator Sima Eben. Members absent were Representatives Adams and Mussini. Also present were Chief Louis Fazaro, Deputy Chief Paul Gates, and Captain Stephen Sinagra. For discussion purposes, Representative Pasqualini moved the town manager's figure of $8,563,339, seconded by Representative Richards. Chief Fazaro indicated that the figure was an increase of $353,783 over the 2019 fiscal year budget account. The chief stated that the increases in the budget were primarily due to, 1, scheduled pay increases in collective bargaining agreements with the union. The contractual agreement is a 2.6% increase. The addition of a lieutenant's position in the patrol unit. The chief relayed the importance of the position to maintain proper supervision to the patrol units and the Emergency Services Communications Center on all 3 shifts. A lieutenant's position was cut in fiscal year 2019, and the position has been filled through overtime and oftentimes by a sergeant. With the department absorbing the emergency communications operations, the shift supervisors are not only responsible for supervising the patrols, but also the communications centers. This is a significant increase in responsibility. Filling the position of lieutenant would reduce overtime by approximately $94,000. Number 3, a slight increase in operating expenses. This was due to the new service user agreement for the state of Connecticut for the new radio system. 2 points of interest relayed by the chief were, 1, overtime includes replacement, training, and the overtime for the emergency service dispatch operation. The overall budget figure for the emergency service dispatch operation is $1,059,000. Members of the committee asked several questions concerning various line items in the budget, and the chief provided responses to these questions to the committee's member satisfaction. Motion to approve the figure of $8,563,339 was moved by Representative Powers, seconded by Representative Pasqualini. Committee voted unanimously in favor of acceptance.
Thank you. Could you put a motion on the floor?
I will move the figure of $8,563,339.
Second.
We have a motion from Representative Streeter and a second from Representative Bailey for account 1024 in the amount of $8,563,339. So, is there any discussion or questions on this account? Representative Stanford?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I just have a question for the Chief of Police. With this budget, how many new officers are included in this budget, either post-certified or entry-level going to the police academy?
It would be an aggregate increase of our staffing of 1. In years past, we were, is this on?
Yeah.
In the years past, we were 67 sworn. Last year, there was the lieutenant's position wasn't funded, so it went down to 66. Staffing right now is currently at 64. We have a selection process ongoing. The council authorized the hiring up to full staffing, so that is just on the sworn ranks. We also have 13 positions in the dispatch center. Currently, 12 are filled. 2 of those individuals are in training, and we have another part-time individual that's in training.
Okay, thank you. So with that 1 FTE, that brings it to 67, is that correct then? With the 1 FTE, it would bring it back to the 67?
Yes, ma'am, it would.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you. Any other questions? Representative Bordelon?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I'm looking at community policing. Let's see, community-oriented policing, page 111, 1024, 7. Looks like it's been at 0, going up to 77,000. I would just like a little more information on that, and I also would like to know how many current lieutenants do we have currently hired. What will this number in addition make it?
Sure. That isn't an increase, that's merely putting the community policing officer in that line item, so that's the salary for the officer. Our community policing officers, school resource officers, evidence officer, they're part of our patrol staffing. So of the 41, 42 officers we've got, they're actually police officers. Community policing is not a rank, it's an assignment within that. So we've moved that salary figure into the community policing line. So it's accurately reflected so we can track it a little bit better. The second question, I'm sorry?
You said that you're looking to hire an additional...
We're looking to promote from an incumbent into a lieutenant rank. We have been, last year we assumed all the duties of emergency management in the communications center. I believe it's working well. However, we also lost the director of communications and we lost a lieutenant. So all those duties are shared among several staff members, but we've seen an increase in our quite frankly, in the amount of work that our supervisors are doing. It isn't exclusive to that. We've had supervisors injured and out on leave that we can't replace them if we don't have enough officers. So what we're doing is we're hiring a lot of officers or supervisors on overtime. So what we did is we reduced the amount of overtime for that particular line by $94,000, which was the equivalent of the lieutenant's position. We currently have 4 patrol lieutenants. We have a detective lieutenant. We have a lieutenant that helps oversee emergency management as well as some other additional duties in the dispatch center and handles some of the patrol functions. And then we have 2 patrol lieutenants. What we're looking to do is get a 3rd patrol lieutenant back so we can cover that those vacancies that exist.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Are we ready to vote on this then? All right, seeing no other hands raised, we have a motion on the floor for account 1024, $8,563,339. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? 32 in favor. That motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
The next item discussed at the committee meeting was capital improvement projects number 6M and 7G. Capital Improvement Project 6M relates to physical repairs and replacement projects at the police building facilities, including repair to exterior concrete steps and retaining walls and replacement of garage doors. Committee members and police administrators present at the meeting were in agreement that this CIP fell under the purview of the RTM's Public Works Committee and should thus be reviewed by that committee. CIP 7G requested funding in the amount of $45,000 for upgrade and purchase of squad car and body cameras. Before this CIP was brought before the town council, the town manager indicated that due to ongoing testing and evaluation, this project could be postponed. The town council agreed, and money for the CIP was not funded by the council. Representative Streeter moved a figure of 0, seconded by Representative Pasqualini. Committee voted 3 in favor and 1 opposed, Representative Powers. I will move a figure of 0 for CIP 7G.
This was that, who was the second? I'm sorry. Oh, Adams. So we have a motion for 0 on 7G, squad car body cams, made by Representative Streeter and seconded by Representative Adams. Is there any discussion of this item? Representative Merritt.
Yes, my question is for the chief. Is this detrimental at this point in time?
No, fortunately, 2 years ago we went to body cameras. This is really an ability to put new, improved in-car cameras. The problem with the body cameras, you don't really see above the dashboard. So it was to look at some possible replacements for the ones that we have in our cruisers. Not every cruiser has an in-car camera setup, but we're testing and evaluating some others. Given some other projects that are ongoing right now, it seemed prudent to maybe push it out a year because it would give us more time. I know that the RTM and the council considered some other projects, and if I may take a little bit of liberty while we're on it, I know you're considering a capital improvement project for one of our partner agencies in the city, the police department there. I certainly endorse the fact that they're looking to improve their radio communications as we did, and I applaud the city mayor and the city chief for looking in that direction, because I think it fulfills the spirit and intent of us being cooperative and being able to communicate. And I know Chief Knowles has been on board with that too, so I just wanted to lend my support to your consideration of their CIP as well.
All right. Any questions? Seeing none? All in favor of 0 for capital improvement project 7G, body cameras, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion carries, 32 in favor, unanimous.
A motion to adjourn the committee meeting was made by Representative Streeter and seconded by Representative Richards. Meeting adjourned at 7:50 p.m. I move to accept the minutes.
We have a motion to accept the minutes by Representative Streeter and seconded by Representative Powers. Was that a recess or an adjournment?
That was an adjournment.
Okay. Is there any questions on that? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the meeting minutes of the Public Safety Subcommittee of the RTM, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Those minutes are approved, 32 in favor. What?
Who seconded it?
Sean Powers.
Okay.
Representative, I thought I said that. No. Oh, I didn't, sorry.
Okay.
All right, moving on to the next item is City of Groton. Cost Center CIP 7F. Oh, actually, this 1090 goes next, sorry. 1090. And it's on page 239.
I think it's on page 182, actually.
Am I reading everything wrong? Oh, you're right, 182.
Page 182.
Yeah, that's for page 182. And the detail on that is in the appendix, if you like. Appendix A.
Goes that?
Oh, yeah. You can go.
The Representative Town Meeting Public Safety Committee met on April 23rd, 2019 in Classroom A at the Senior Center to consider fiscal year 2020 budgets for the City of Groton Police Department, account 1090, and the Groton Long Point Police, account 1091, and capital improvement CIP 7F Public Safety Radio System upgrades, City Police radios. Members present were Representative Pasqualini, Powers, Richards, and Streeter. Members absent, Representative Adams and Vicini. Also present were the City of Groton Mayor Keith Hedrick, Groton Long Point Association President Mike Flynn, City of Groton Police Chief Michael Spellman, City of Groton Police Captain Eric Jenkins, Groton Long Point Police Chief David Knowles, and City of Groton Finance Director Ron Uhas. Item 1, account 1090. For discussion purposes, Representative Pasqualini moved the town manager's figure of $2,564,443, seconded by Representative Powers. City Police Chief Spellman and City Finance Director Uhas provided committee members with a spreadsheet showing the items that are included in the city's police budget request to the town, which are not included in the town's police budget presented to the town council and the RTM. The items include health insurance, pension, workers' compensation, health group and general insurances, and other post-employment benefits. The overall police budget has increased by $242,728. However, the city's request from the town is half of that figure, which would amount to $121,364, which equates to a 1.92% increase over last year's request. Contractual pay raises, increases in pension and health insurance payments, as well as capital expenditures for the replacement of 2 police vehicles accounts for the increase. After discussing the increases, the committee voted unanimously in favor of that figure. I move a figure of $121,364.
Can you repeat that?
It's 120.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're on something else.
I thought you were at
I'm sorry.
1090. Got
I'm
it.
thinking of the increase. My apologies. $2,564 and
No, say it again.
$2,564,443.
Perfect. All right, we have a motion on the floor for City of Groton, account 1090, police, for $2,564,443, made by Representative Streeter and seconded by Representative Bailey. Is there any questions or discussion on this item? Representative Stevenson?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I'm just wondering, is this information you spoke about, the breakdown of this increase, is that available to the public anywhere, or how does that get disseminated?
The sheet you have there, Lance.
It's,
He can make copies and provide them to us.
That'd be great.
He did to the committee.
Yeah, I understand. But I'm just wondering, because like we can go to the town hall, and anyone can pay $40 to pick up the budget book. So I'm just wondering, is there a way for public access to this information, or is it?
can you speak into the microphone, please? Sorry.
Sorry.
That's Ron, you have the.
Yeah, we can make that information available either way if you want us to make copies of it and get it to Betsy to distribute out. Is that the best way to do that?
I just think, I just like full transparency in government. It's also, I just was wondering this is all.
RTM.
If that's something we want to do, I don't know if we need to vote on that or anything like that. I don't know.
I could put them into the
You
committee, I could put the item into the committee's minutes because it was given to the committee, right?
Yes, it was.
Okay, then I can include it in your minutes. And then-
Okay.
Then it's on the website, so.
That's great. Thanks.
Representative Washington?
On page 183, the only thing we have for that line item, 109,000 police, is a figure. It doesn't tell us how many police officers, or am I missing it?
Yeah, go to Appendix A
Oh, okay.
and go look at page 239. No. I have it. It's, you know, the numbers are squirrely in the appendix, so it's after page 5, but it's, I don't know. You know, there's a table of contents at the beginning. That's actually the totally easiest way here. It's 107. Budget page 182, page 107 in Appendix A. Oh, did I say it wrong?
Well, the index is wrong?
What?
The index is wrong? 107.
I don't know. I don't know where it is.
It's 107.
I don't know. I got it on 107, so.
too.
There's a table of contents. It says it's on 107. That's where mine is.
And
Just
108
saying.
and 109.
It's a pretty big chunk. What?
166.
That's the main book, though.
Got it.
It's in two spaces.
So everyone looking at page 166, can you see your,
What portion?
there you go. Sorry for the utter mask. All right, there you go. Any other questions?
This is really weird.
So ahead of that is the highway, so now you know where to find highway when we come to it. Representative Washington?
Can you tell me again where you increase, why you have an increase of 5%? I didn't hear that.
The major increase in this budget is the pension, which increased 128,000 over the prior year. And it's very similar to the towns, which that is found in the non-departmental section, so that's not included in the actual police budget. So that's just that's the bigger item. The other items that increased were the health insurance by 45,000, the capital increased by 25,000, and general wage increases were roughly 45,000.
Okay. Any other questions, clarification? Seeing none, are we ready? Representative Whitney?
I just asked for a clarification. So that number up there, 2.5 million, and then we look in our spreadsheets, it's,
That's the sum of all accounts in the 1090. There's four of them, I
okay.
believe.
So what part are we voting on right now?
We're voting on police.
And it's just police.
Exactly correct.
Thank you.
All right, so we're all on, we can flip back. This is account 1090, and it's public safety. And I'll just say a handy thing, which I just learned, although probably everyone else knows this, but Dawn printed out these updates on what the town and the committee does. If you turn the inside page, it actually has the breakouts of these accounts. Does everyone have that? Should
It's
have
given out
gotten it?
the 30th.
Really handy.
I have extras if you don't have it.
So you can see if you scroll down that backside of that front page that we're on account 1090, again, city police, $2,564,443. Representative Rogers?
Forgive me if this is silly. I'm just concerned that it should be 1090-0. The whole account is 1090, including all the numbers, and I just don't want. There you go. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So we're on account 1090-0, or 10,900. All in favor of 2,564,443, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion carries. We have 33 members in the room. That's unanimous. Thank you.
The next item discussed by the committee was CIP, Capital Improvement Project 7F, Public Safety Radio System Upgrade for the city police radios. Chief Spellman relayed that the money requested would be utilized to purchase radios which will permit interoperability in communications for mutual and public safety events between the town of Groton and the city of Groton, as well as other departments in the region who are hooking up to the state of Connecticut's radio system. The radio equipment requested will be compatible with the new system installed and used by the town police department. The $186,000 requested would be used to purchase to upgrade the base radio system of the city of Groton. $10,000 for the base radio station upgrades in the city police dispatch, $65,000 for the purchase of all new base radios in city police vehicles, $50,000 for purchase of 10 supervisor portable radios, $60,000 for purchase of 20 officers' portable radios, also the purchase of 4 smartphone wave applications for the existing communications by detectives. The equipment purchase will be identical to the equipment used by the Groton Town Police Department. The program of having compatible radio systems is consistent with the previous PERF, which stands for Police Executive Research Forum Report Recommendations. Representative Shawn Powers moved to approve the figure of $186,000, seconded by Representative Pasqualini. Committee voted unanimously in favor of the figure. I move a figure of $186,000.
Second.
All right. So we have a motion for CIP 7F for $186,000. It's been made by Representative Streeter and seconded by Representative Bailey. And that is for a radio system upgrade for the city police radios, which are consistent with the town's radio. Are there any questions? Representative McDermott?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. We did a police evaluation study in 2013, which probably most of you in the room are not familiar with. But this was one of the things that was brought out, that we really needed this kind of compatibility all across the city and all of the boroughs. It just has to be. So now the time has finally come, so I would certainly be in favor of this. Thank you.
Representative Stevenson?
Hi, yes. I was just wondering if, thank you, Madam Moderator. I was just wondering, could we just get like a brief description of what this new system is? You know, I keep hearing, you know, the town did it and all that. I was just wondering, just really brief, kind of in layman's terms, what's going on. You know, it makes sense on paper, but I was just looking for more information.
Yes, sir. First, I want to applaud Chief Azzaro. When he became chief in the town of Groton, he encountered a significant issue with the radio system within the town of Groton. And not only was he able to overcome the issues with that radio system, but he was able to lay the groundwork for what became a regional solution. Two things that you're going to run into. Today, General Dynamics is expanding. Today they had a meeting under the Gold Star Bridge where in the City of Groton we're going to be dealing with port operations for the City of New London, which is going to stress our resources more and more. Interoperability, or the ability to communicate, becomes more and more important along those lines. Secondarily, with the state police system that he's going to, with the towers and that they utilize there, and quite frankly, the Groton Town Police Department probably has the most valuable piece of real estate when it comes to radios in the area, with the elevation up that he can put his towers up. The system is tremendous. Chief Stewart and the Stonington Police Department is also on it. It's unbelievable what it can do, the reception that it has. I was up in the Chiefs of Police Association in Southington, Connecticut, facing the Giant in Meriden, and the Stonington Police Chief got on his portable radio, and he reached his dispatch. The other thing that we're going to run into is often, and I'll direct this to, as well as you, but Representative McDermott, the hotline is probably going to be sunsetted. And when that occurs, interoperability becomes even more crucial. And as we ramp up all the development within the City of Groton right now, we're going to need that system upgrade to provide primary police services to General Dynamics, Pfizer, which is our tax base here. Again, I can't applaud Chief Azzaro enough. He did a tremendous job over there, and we're able to upgrade our system far more economically than we would have in another scenario. And it's good for Groton. We're serving Groton in its totality. And I think you got a unique opportunity to meet a parameter of the PERF report, and I apologize to any council members who are here. I had a splitting headache when I went before them. I couldn't think of what PERF stood for the life of me. But I would state to you that it's good for Groton. It's good for both police departments, and if anything happens, the capabilities of that radio system to meet the needs of the community and stakeholders in the community is tremendous. It's a great opportunity for you to do some good things.
Representative Bordelon?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. My question is based upon the fact that we saw the town, go through this last year in the budget, and we saw it coming. My first question is there a possibility in the future to start looking at applying for grants for a portion of this fund? And from the time of this being approved, when do we think that this would be up and operational?
As far as grants go, I'm very aggressive on grants. If I see anything on there that I can apply for and belay cost to a taxpayer, I'll do it, and I'll always do it. Secondarily, I'd like to get this up as soon as possible. I think this is a winner for both my department and Groton Town. And we have two key stakeholders, one of which is a major defense industry. And the police department that I have the honor to command, we look at ourselves as the region's police department, between 6 and 5, because we have so many people that get their employment there, that we look at it as a responsibility to the region. And if I can upgrade what I give my personnel out there to meet those needs, I want to get it out there as soon as I can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we have a motion on the floor for CIP 7F, Public Safety Radio System Upgrade for the City Police, $186,000. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion carries unanimously, 33 in favor. The next item is count 1091, Groton Long Point, cost center 10910.
Thank you.
And again, if you're looking for the detail of this, it's in Appendix A 171.
Put up there, 10, 10, 10, 1, 10, excuse me, 10, 9, 1, 0. So 10910, right? Yeah, 1091, 0. Because there's the police
Okay.
is 0, highway.
I'll do it as soon as there's a motion on the floor.
All set?
Yeah.
The next account reviewed by the committee was account 1091-0, Groton Long Point Police Department. Representative Pascaline moved a figure of $305,000 for discussion purposes. Representative Powers seconded the motion. Groton Long Point Association President Mike Flynn explained that the request of $305,000 is approximately $39,000 or a 14.7% increase over last year's approved figure. He indicated that in the past, the town had, just as they do for the city, provided 50% of Groton Long Point's police department budget. However, some years ago, they were cut and they now receive approximately 36% of the police budget from the town. The Groton Long Point Association is thus attempting to get back to at least 40% reimbursement level. Both Mr. Flynn and Chief Knowles indicated that the department had experienced increases of a little over 2% in last year's budget due to contractual pay increases and retirement costs. Representative Richards moved a figure of $272,946, and Representative Streeter seconded the figure for discussion purposes. Representative Richards indicated this was the figure approved by the town council. In discussions that followed, Representative Streeter asked if the Groton Long Point Police Department was utilizing the new town police radio system. The chief indicated that they were, and when asked who had paid for the system and the cost of implementing the system, Mr. Flynn stated that the Groton Long Point had paid for the equipment and that the cost was approximately $45,000. Representative Streeter then moved a figure of $288,000, which was seconded by Representative Pascalini. Representative Streeter indicated that he had moved the figure as a compromise figure in light of the fact that the Groton Long Point Police had not requested the money to purchase the new radios. The committee voted on the first figure of $305,000, and it failed with a vote of 2-2. with Representative Pasqualini and Powers voting in favor, and Representatives Richards and Streeter voting against. The second figure on the floor of $272,946 was then voted on, and it failed 1-3, with Representative Richards voting in favor and Representatives Pasqualini, Powers, and Streeter voting against. The third figure on the floor of $288,000 was then voted on, and it failed in a 2-2 vote, with Representatives Streeter and Richards in favor and Representatives Pasqualini and Powers voting against. Representative Powers then moved a compromise figure of $300,000, which was seconded by Representative Pasqualini. The committee passed this figure unanimously. I move a figure of $300,000.
Second.
All right, we have a motion on the floor for $300,000 by Representative Streeter, seconded by Representative Bailey, and that's for account 10910, Groton Long Point Police. Representative Miller?
I'd like to move another number. I'd like to move the original town council number of $272,946.
Who seconded it? Adams. So we have a second, an amendment to the first number, $272,946, made by Representative Mello Miller, seconded by Representative Adams. Let me just get it up there. Representative Mello Miller, would you like to speak to that motion?
Instead of me speaking, what I'd like to do is I'd like to ask one of the members of the town council to come up and perhaps speak on why they originally proposed the number. Is that possible?
Sure. Is Mayor Granatowski still here? Or- I can't see her. She's behind a big pillar.
Hi. I just want to verify something before I give you an answer. It's been a while since we did this account, so give me 1 second, please. Yep. We moved the same percent increase that the town police force got. So the town police received a 2.6% increase, so we provided a 2.6% increase for this police force as well.
Representative Frickman? Thank you, Mayor Granatowski.
Full disclosure, my wife works for the association, but not for the police department, just for disclosure. I'd like to move a new number, 290,000.
Is there a second for that? Okay. What? His wife doesn't work for the police.
GLP. Oh, pardon.
There's a motion on the floor for $290,000. It's been made by Representative Frickman and seconded by Representative Bailey. I mean, not Bailey, sorry. Martin.
Another Bob, 2 Bobs.
Representative Frickman, would you like to speak to that motion?
Yes, please, thank you. And actually following up with what Representative Streeter said earlier, Groton Long Point already paid out of their own pockets already for the radio upgrades without anybody else, and here we are cutting them, yet we just approved, what was it, 180-something thousand, 160,000, 186,000 for the city on top of the regular budget. So yes, the Groton Long Point didn't go or the city didn't go up and they approved those, and they did the same percentage for both of them, but I think it's kind of unfair where we're cutting one and not the other in regards to covering the cost of their radio upgrades.
Thank you. Representative Casper, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I did. That was the point I was trying to make.
Your Representative Powers?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Chief, a couple questions for you. We understand that you took this cut, and we understand the town council and how they gave everybody the same increase. I know that from committee meetings, we had a discussion about the assisting that you do both in Mystic and the fact that the money, it's basically below a 60-40 split now, correct?
Just about, yes.
And can you elaborate on how, I think we discussed the boat incident with the people in the bay, and you actually go out and save lives, and this is something that you don't see on a piece of paper. So could you explain exactly why you need the money and the reasons we feel 300,000 or 290,000 is a good figure?
Well, thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I want to let you know that down at Groton Long Point we have 4 full-time officers that are fully certified, post-certified, meet all the requisites for the state of Connecticut, and we do provide 24-hour coverage down at Groton Long Point. And we cannot quantify, because I know there's always a question about what we do down there, but we can't quantify what we don't know. Basically, our patrol tactics are no different than anybody else, and what we prevent as far as crime is something that we can't quantify. But what I can do is tell you, and I know statistics talk in different ways, but last year alone, from January 2018 until the present, we provided some backup to our Groton town. And again, I thank Chief Azzaro, because when I came on board, he brought me right into the fold, along with the radio systems and so on and so forth. But we have provided or were requested by Groton Dispatch, or in some way, shape, or form assisted Groton Town at least 61 times over the course of 18 months. We do regular routine patrols, as I said. So in addition to that, we have our fire department provides, we have a safety boat. And if you remember back in January 2018, they were the first ones to respond to the incident down in Mumford Cove, and they were recognized for their capability and what they do. And unfortunately, we lost 2 people that day. We're out there, duck hunting. But that being said, we're down there, and we provide, like I say, 24-hour coverage. We are now on the same radio system as Groton Town. Groton City will be on that radio system. Stonington, as Chief Spellman said, that the hotline is going away. It's going to be sunsetted. Eventually, that hotline is going to be on that P25 system, and to which we can communicate with all departments during, some of the bigger events that occur. And so, we're there to provide coverage for our people down at Groton Long Point, and also to assist any department that in our area.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Representative Whitehouse.
So I have a couple questions. First, you said there's 4 full-time officers. I assume there's other staff included in that $513,000 personnel figure?
Yes, there are. There are 4 full-time, 4 part-time, and 4 CSOs, which are summer help.
Okay. And I'm not sure if I understand I know it's a separate taxing district in GLP. So if the town does the 272, is the difference made up with a higher mill rate on Groton Long Point, or where is that difference made up?
It's made up at a higher mill rate at Groton Long Point, yes,
okay.
sir.
So it's a question of if the town's paying for it, or if the residents in Groton Long Point are paying for it, and then the association makes the final decision of what the GLP tax rate would be?
Yes, actually, we make our mill rate actually at the association meeting in May. But again, actually, the combined taxes actually of the 3 communities make up what's being dispensed.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure I understood what was getting paid for where, because I know this is one of the complex and unique and interesting parts of Groton is our various associations and whatnot. All right, thank you.
Representative Whitney, did you have your hand up? Okay, Representative Bailey.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I have a question for Representative Streeter. If you could refresh us with the amount of money that Groton Long Point Police paid for radios?
Yes, I received, there was an approximate figure placed, brought to the committee that night. However, Chief Knowles contacted me the next day and indicated it was $45,000.
Thank you, Representative Streeter. Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Representative Katowski, and then
Thank you. It seems counterintuitive and counterproductive for the Groton taxpayers to provide taxpayer dollars to a police department that has as its sole purpose to keep me out. I'm sorry. I wish I could say it was otherwise. I would like to see this budget at zero, and I'm sorry to say that. I'll be supporting the town council number. I have a question.
go for it.
I heard that the $7 million bridge that the taxpayers are providing Groton Long Point, that there was talk of putting a pedestrian sidewalk on the bridge, and I heard that Groton Long Point was going to sue the town because of that. Is that true?
Let me ask if you can repeat that again. I'm not quite sure, and hearsay isn't always good.
Right.
But say that again,
that's why I'm
please.
asking you. Yeah. So there's a $7 million bridge repair that's going to go on in Groton Long Point, and apparently the plans had a sidewalk. And I heard that because Groton Long Point didn't want the sidewalk on the bridge, they're going to sue the town. Is that true?
Actually, there's 3 proposals, actually, that Gary Snyder had shown the town, and the engineering group actually have been involved with the town for many years on this. This is an ongoing, I forget how many years it's been going on, but at least 5 or 6 anyway, and the rating of the bridge. This bridge also serves Mumford Cove as well, at that point there. But it is our only access, actually, to the main thoroughfare out there. The question you have is actually it's the main part of the bridge is replacing the bridge is the key issue. And the bridge is actually, the width and the size of the bridge, they'll widen it a little bit. It'll have bike lanes, I believe, but I'm not going to talk for Gary Snyder. The town is working on the design of it with the engineer. We are one of the stakeholders. We're not the only stakeholder at that point there. To do other things, actually, the bridge requires a lot more work, a lot bigger cost. Actually, it includes actually taking land. And what the town is going to do, I don't know. So I really can't answer that question for you.
Thank you.
So no litigation has been threatened?
I don't believe why it would be threatened,
I was
actually,
just
if there's
curious.
nothing done.
That was the question.
The bridge
and I
project
didn't-
hasn't moved forward yet, so I don't believe, actually, that that's a statement to be answered.
Thank you.
Representative Streeter?
I have a question for the mayor and the council members that are here. If during deliberations, if they were aware that, and if they were, did they take in consideration that the Groton Long Point had paid for the $45,000 for the radios? That surfaced as a result.
What was the answer? I didn't hear. Could you repeat?
She doesn't recall.
Okay, thank you.
The question was generated by the fact that the committee had just approved the request by the city police for their radios. So I asked if we were on the if Groton Long Point was on the same radio frequency. That's when we learned that they had purchased out of their pocket. And again, my reasoning for moving another figure was to equalize the fact that we had purchased the radio systems for the town police department, and we had just approved a figure to approve purchasing the city's radio department or equipment. Thus, I thought it was important that we compensate the Groton Long Point for purchasing the radios.
Thank you. Representative Chase?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Can you tell me how many residents there are year-round?
Actually, it's not an easy figure to explain. Actually, it's a summertime community. During the summer, actually, it's a large number. We're into probably 4,000 to 5,000 people on the point, but it dwindles depending on later in the season. Actually, there many people travel away. At that point, there our main focus of time is between June and September. When you get into the winter months, at that point, we're probably down to 500 maybe.
Okay. And the statistics that I have found, the last statistics were for 2017, there's 0 crime on Groton Long Point.
Well, there's actually things that happen on Groton Long Point, actually what you consider crime at that point, whether
Well,
it was a break-in.
violent crime.
Again, actually, it's community policing down there, actually, and what happens, and the buildings, and what happens down there with the personnel. We have the same functions that every other police department has, the same things that happen down there from one year to the next. You never know. So you, as the chief explained, actually there, you can't know what's going to happen at that point tomorrow.
So are there fewer officers in the winter there?
No, it's still, we only have one officer on duty at any one time. So actually it's 24-hour coverage by one officer at a time. So we don't have multiple officers on at any one time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Bordelon?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Thanks for coming out and explaining your budget tonight. Can you explain to me, so my understanding is that you guys fund your chief, right? You have a chief that you, Groton Long Point Association, and I apologize if I'm saying it wrong.
Yes, we do.
Okay, you guys fully fund that?
Correct.
Okay. Looking at like the statistics in the town and the demographics of the town population, when you look at District 5, the response time for an officer to make it out to District 5, in comparison to Groton Long Point, where you guys are less than, how many miles would you say you guys are from the Groton? Maybe 3, if that, from the town, from the Fitch High School, Town of Groton Police Department into there. Looking at this number that you guys are proposing, breaking that down, looking at the crime rates down there, I mean, there's crime everywhere, kids running around. Sometimes it might be your own population vandalizing stuff down there. If you're calling it community policing, the amount per officer down there, to me, looking at what officers make in other jurisdictions, it appears to me that it seems to be quite high for violent crimes, just being a single foot patrol, in an area that goes down to 400 to 500 the majority of the year and only inflates during the summer, but also has backup less than 3 miles away, which the support in District 5 can barely get that. With all due respect, I understand that you guys fund a percent of that, and that's obviously, my understanding, a choice by the location that you live, and others have compared this to the city budget. And when I look at the city budget and look at the crime rates and the percent of people in the town, in that section of town, along with EB, Pfizer, and the naval base, which are all classified areas, I have no reason not to support that area based on that. I have trouble with the numbers I'm looking at. I'm trying to make sense of it honestly and really want to support what you're saying. Is there a reason why you did not submit a CIP for $45,000 for your radios?
We didn't believe we were allowed to.
Okay. So with that reasoning, then, I feel, I respect your stance, Mr. Representative Streeter. It's not really our responsibility at this time to refund something. I encourage you guys to get actively involved and make sure that you're aware of these CIPs and such. I feel like, I don't know, I feel like it's kind of like after the fact and it wasn't submitted. And that's not the fault of all of us and the taxpayers here in the town of Groton afterwards. And I respect the fact that you guys did pay that, and I understand that, but I think the communication somehow needs to maybe kind of come together so you guys are aware about how you can submit a CIP.
Where this came about, actually, for the radios alone, actually, this town actually moved forward with the radio project, with the town actually to fund the project. We actually, being a good partner at that point there and a neighbor, felt we should be on the same system, and we ponied up the money to do that, to be proper response and everything else like we had. Mm-hmm. The city was evaluating, and they've responded this year to do the same thing. We did that actually to be supportive and be on the system at that point there, not to cause any issues with the town. Keep in mind, we are one of the largest taxpayers in this community. We're the second largest at that point there, but we drive very few benefits from that, and that's being an honest thing. So what we try to do is actually work together, provide all we can. We don't ask for an awful lot here, as you looked at, as compared to what we pay in. But again, that's not the point. The point is, we have an active police force. We support the Groton town tremendously. We support the police and the fire actually support at that point there with the boats. They couldn't get to those sites. We could. That actually, if you want to go by that way, that was the responsibility of the town. They weren't there. We were there to help and save lives. That's important, no matter what. All three organizations work together. They're all chartered to work together. They're all chartered to be existing. That's not going to change today or tomorrow. But realistically, we're just trying to actually be a little more in equity. We're not. We're not even close to equity at all at that point there, but we're asking for a little bit.
Thank you. My last question is, if taking out the 45,000, looking at the original figure of 300, can you tell me what your increase is and what you need in this budget? Looking at the numbers that have gone up, can you tell me where your cost is going up exactly and where you think you need this increase?
Actually, if you go by our submittal of it was 305.
Yeah, I saw
that was to get our number back up to be more representative. We were trying to get up close to 40%. That would have got us at 39% increase percentage of the figure of our cost. At that point, where the city is 50, we were trying to get the town, of course, is 100. We were trying to get up to 40%. That would have been at 39%.
So your reasoning is just to bring up the number back to the 40
that we were cut
that you were
years
getting
ago,
before?
actually down to a tremendously low number, but the city was not, nor was the town.
Right, when you compare it to the city, I just think it's a different demographic.
But you can't. We were taxed the same. You can't change that part of it.
Thank you.
Representative Monahan.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. The issue about reimbursements between the town and the subdivisions, the association, the city, is an ongoing issue. But some things that were said, I just want to read from the legal opinion of Timothy Bates, now Judge Bates, that was provided to Mark Effinger back in February of 2011. And this is in the conclusion of a 10-page letter. I'll spare you all other 9 pages. This procedure, excuse me. As to police services, the town has a duty under Connecticut case law to reimburse subdivisions which have primary responsibility for provision of police services for the value of those services provided to residents of the town. If it does not do so, the town is liable under the contractual legal theory of quasi-contract for the reasonable value of those services to the town. To avoid such a claim, we recommend the town council and the RTM work with the subdivisions to determine and fund reasonable value of police services provided by the subdivisions through the town's annual budget. So as I understand it through the history, it may have been that at one point the town has been providing 50% of the associations and apparently cut it back. But fundamentally, we have an obligation of the town to assist in funding this. It's not a whim. We have a legal obligation to do so. The exact dollar amounts, that's, I guess, what we're talking about. But I want to get rid of this notion that we have no obligation to help pay for the association's services.
Thank you. I just want to note at this time that since this number is in excess of the town council's number, it will require a 2/3 majority to pass, which will be 22. So next on my list is Representative Washington.
I'm going to support the town council's number. I went to the town council meeting when they talked about the Groton Long Point budget, and I wrote down that the Groton Long Point wants a 14.6% increase, the town police is a 2.6%, and the city police is a 5% increase. So the Groton Long Point increase is way above the other two police departments. So I will be supporting the town council's number.
Representative Mello Miller. Oh. Representative Bailey, did you speak already?
Not yet.
Oh, Representative Bailey, you go. Sorry, he went a while ago. I missed him in my list. I apologize.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I think it's only fair, and I think it's reasonable to me that I understand that they didn't have a CIP in, but that's not a reason to hammer somebody. Obviously, getting it through during the budget would be in the best interest, and I think it would be a good consideration to reconsider the first number of $300,000. Thank you very much.
All right, Representative Miller, go for it.
Thank you, moderator. Just a question. I noticed that I was looking, and I don't see the salary for the police. There's none listed. Has that been provided to us?
Well, actually, salary is under personnel. There's 3 figures, personnel, other, and utilities. I can give you a quick breakdown if you want to. Here for a minute.
Okay, so we have the number, are you speaking about the number of 513?
Yes.
Is that the number?
Yep.
Okay, but what I noticed if you look through our budget is that for Groton City and Groton Town, it's broken down by number of officers and the salaries, and I noticed that that's not provided to us. And I was just wondering if in future years, if we could be provided that, because I think that would be helpful in comparison and understanding as far as, and I understand the subdivision but just in understanding where the salaries fall as well, because we're having lots of questions, but I think if this information was provided to us at an earlier time, then we would have a better understanding of all of the things that you do and why you do them.
I can give that to Betsy to look at.
Thank you.
for a copy.
Thank you. Representative Newsom?
Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Are you on?
I'm sorry, I missed it. What percentage of the $305,000 you originally requested, what percentage of that is your total police operating budget?
39%.
So you were asking for 39%, and the rest of it's going to have to be made up by the association.
Correct.
But you're also taxed for town police. The residents are.
Yes,
How
we
often
are.
do you use the town police?
Unless they're backing us up with something, actually, it's very minimal.
So you're getting taxed for a service you don't use, and you're asking for 39% reimbursement of your service. So the last time I'd taken a look at these numbers, this was a couple of years ago, what it basically came out to was that Groton Long Point residents were paying 65% more for their police services than a town resident. So yes, they do get more, but they also pay more. So I think that part of the argument needs to be understood. They're being taxed for town police that they don't use.
Well,
Thank
the
you.
same as in the city, correct?
The same with the city. So the
Right.
city, at the time I looked, they were paying about 15% more than a town resident for their police services. Groton Long Point was paying about 65% more. So, but that was a couple of years ago, but the reasoning still stands.
Thank you. All right, Representative Casper.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I would like to point out that Groton Long Point is one of the largest taxpayers, and they're an ideal group for taxpayers because they do not use the school system very much, and yet 70% of their taxes go to the schools. And I would say there are very few students from Groton Long Point in Groton schools. And they're paying, again, they're paying for our schools. They're paying for our police, and I think it's only fair that we pay for their radios. So I would have added the 45,000 complete as a sum to that figure. That's what I would be in favor of.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Wells?
Well, I agree with Representative Washington. I tend to support the council number because we traditionally and we usually support the Groton Long Point Police Department. And I appreciate your taking the time to explain, what exactly it is you do. But I'm kind of somewhat curious that other shoreline communities, thinking of two in Rhode Island, the Weekapaug and Watch Hill, they seem to manage with just a fire district. And they have hire, I don't know whether it's essentially security guards to chase people off the parking places at the beaches or exactly what they do. So I'm not sure, I'm not expecting to say, oh yeah, great idea, we'll get rid of the police department. But I was curious as to how they seem to manage, and they're a heck of a ways from Westerly for the Westerly police to get down there, from the Westerly police headquarters. Anyway, thank you. Thank you.
Representative Whitney?
Thank you. I agree with what Representative Bordelon said a while back. I don't support reimbursement for the radios only because I think it's a bad precedent. Well, we spent this without going through the normal process, and then we're looking for the money back. But I actually don't think that's what Groton Long Point is asking for. But I don't support that rationale of tacking on $45,000. However, am happy to hear they are on the same radio system, and that Groton City is going to be too, because I think that's an important step forward in unifying the police department. And I hope as the years go on that we'll have many more steps towards further unification. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Stevenson.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Kind of echoing Representative Miller, when I look at Appendix A and I see the breakdown, I only see fiscal year 2020. Do you have the numbers of the current year, that breakdown, just so we can kind of see the changes, like where this increase is coming? Because I know you're trying to increase the percentage that you're getting from the town, but at the same time, there's also an increase in the numbers. But based on just the information available, I can't see, what those increases are. So do you have those numbers available as far as like the 2019 personal costs, other costs, and utilities? Like, is that anywhere?
Yeah, actually, we do have it broken down, actually. That's the way it's been submitted for years.
Right, but
to
I'm
the
saying you
council and
didn't
the
provide
RTM.
any history in your request, right? So in page 172 of the Appendix A, only shows up here is fiscal year 20.
Correct.
2020.
Yes.
So
Do we have previous? Yes.
Yeah.
Can we provide it? Yes.
okay, I would recommend beginning, because I do support reimbursing for the radio just because the city's getting it, just full disclosure. But without knowing the other changes to these areas, I don't know where that number should be. Is 290 a good number? It seems to be a good for the reimbursing the radio, but I don't know as far as your operating costs, what that means as a matching percentage and what you're increasing. So I would recommend more history when providing the breakdown of the numbers. And I just think we should consider that because we're giving the city the money, that we should, I know Groton Long Point already spent it, but I don't want it to come up later down the road where something might happen in the city that Groton Long Point wants to do. And let's just try to keep politics out of it, and let's try to do what's best for Groton on the whole. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Merritt?
Yes, could I have a reflection on the difference? My paperwork here shows $305,000, and I see the $300,000. Could I have a reflection on that?
Yes, we voted on that figure. That was one of the figures that we did vote on, the 305. That was rejected. And then we voted on two other figures. And then Representative Powers put on a compromise figure of 300,000, which was approved 3-1 by the committee. So that's the figure I moved.
Thank you.
What was the reflection on the $5,000 cut?
It wasn't. It was
It's just a compromise figure.
the town was the 272, so it was an increase from the town. Council, sorry, town council. Representative McDermott?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. You know, we just approved an $11 million police budget for the city and in the town. Here we are fooling around with $45,000. There's a little bit of history on this thing. There's always been a problem in the area with the exclusivity of Groton Long Point, but it is what it is, and we're not going to change that. They have been very willing to go along with whatever the town wants to do as far as radio communication before, well before the city came on board for that. So that's a plus, in my opinion. I would tend to agree with Representative Monahan about paying for the $45,000. Representative Streeter suggested it. I think it's probably reasonable to do that and to give them their money. It's a 2/3 vote on this thing, but I'd like to call a question on it, if I may.
All right.
Can-
No. Is there a second on that?
You can,
Second.
because it's been more than 10 minutes.
What?
It's been more than 10
no
minutes.
doubt. So we have a motion on the floor from Representative McDermott. It's been seconded by Representative Martin. This is to end discussion on this issue. All in favor, and this needs a 2/3 vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay, just read them off.
Eben, Merritt, Monahan, Melendez. Sorry.
Monahan, Melendez.
Did you get Merritt?
Yep.
Can you raise your hands high? Bordelon, Stevenson, Newsom, Chase, and Katowski. That's right. No one else?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
We need 22 to pass it.
Too tired, you guys. 33 minus 9. 24. It passes.
All right, that motion passes. So we have a number on the floor for 290,000. I would suggest a roll call vote on this. Is that okay? Just because we do need 2/3 to pass this one.
Okay, so this is for $290,000?
$290,000 for 10910 Police of Groton Long Point.
So I need a yes, no, or abstention, please. Adams?
Yes.
Bailey?
No.
Bordelon?
No.
Casper?
Yes.
Chase?
No.
DeSiller Fleming?
Yes.
Frickman?
Yes.
Hanscom?
No.
Katowski?
No.
Martin?
Yes.
Massett?
No.
McDermott?
Yes.
Melendez?
No.
Mello Miller?
Yes.
Merritt?
No.
Monahan?
No.
Newsom?
Yes.
Oliver?
Yes.
Perry?
Yes.
Powers?
No.
Richards?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Stanford?
Yes.
Starkley? Stevenson?
Yes.
Streeter Irma?
Yes.
Streeter James?
Yes.
Strode?
Yes.
Washington?
Yes.
Wells?
Yes.
Whitehouse?
Yes.
Whitney? Eben?
No.
Fails. 20 yes and 13 no.
That fails. 20 in favor, 13 opposed, no abstentions. We have another motion on the floor for $272,946. Are we ready to vote on this one? All right, all in, do you want to do it as another roll call? or-
I don't know if you need to.
All in favor, say aye, or raise your hand.
Oh, boy. Now you're getting out of hand. Okay, we'll do a quick roll. Yeah, we'll do it real quick. 272, 946, okay. Adams? Bailey?
No.
Bordelon?
Yes.
Casper? Chase?
Yes.
DeSiller Fleming?
No.
Frickman?
No.
Gustafson? Oops, he's not here. Hanscom?
No.
Katowski?
Yes.
Martin?
No.
Massett?
No.
McDermott?
Yes.
Melendez?
Yes.
Mello Miller?
No.
Merritt?
No.
Monahan?
No.
Newsom?
No.
Oliver?
No.
Perry?
No.
Powers?
No.
Yes.
Richards? Rogers?
No.
Stanford?
No.
Starkley?
Yes.
Stevenson?
No.
Irma Streeter? No. James Streeter?
No.
Strode? No. Washington?
Yes.
Wells?
Yes.
Whitehouse?
No.
Whitney?
Yes.
Eben?
Yes.
Okay, that's 12 in favor, 21 opposed.
So that motion fails, 12 in favor, 21 opposed, no abstentions. Representative Stevenson?
I'd like to put a number of 280,000.
Who seconded it? We have a motion by Representative Stevens for 280,000, seconded by Representative Katowski. Would you like to speak to your motion?
I'm just trying to find the sweet spot. I
Okay.
think 280,000. Again, as I previously said, I support compensation part for the radios, but necessarily getting back up to the 40% that Groton Long Point wants for funding. So I think 280,000 is a reasonable compromise. Thank you.
This also needs a 2/3 majority. Representative Whitehouse?
So I'd like to move another number.
I feel like I'm in Reno. Okay.
305,000 was the town manager number, right?
No. Oh, yeah, the town manager passes on the request, I believe.
I don't make a decision. Right, but that's the highest. Yeah. I want to move 305,000. I'll only explain why.
Okay. Is there a second for that?
Frickman.
We have a motion for 305,000 by Representative Whitehouse. It's been seconded by Representative Martin.
So to save me a few minutes, kind of wrap my head around this whole association, town, who owes what, how this all works. And my first thought of this was that, to some degree, having their own police department is sort of a luxury that Groton Long Point residents wanted, and so they're willing to pay for with an additional tax levy, which is to some degree true. But also, Groton Long Point is part of what balances our town out to be a wealthier town, gives us a larger tax base. They are a major taxpayer. And so the resource of having their own police department, which gives them the kind of place that the kind of people who buy houses in Groton Long Point want to buy houses and spend time, it's part of creating that attraction to Groton Long Point. So in the aggregate, it brings in a lot of people who have, quite frankly, a lot of money that they will then spend in the town, at the restaurants, at stores, at other places. This is a resource that supports the greater community, not simply as a policing resource, but as an economic resource. And ultimately, we're quibbling over, I think the total spread we've looked at is $32,000. But the idea is for the towns pitching in a portion to create a resource that people want, that attracts economic, but not economic development per se, but economic resources of the town, which is kind of what Long Point is. And so I believe that it makes sense to fund them at least at a 40% level to give our portion, which I expect many of those dollars come back to the town in various ways to our businesses and other resources. So that's why I'm advancing at 305,000.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on this one? Representative Katowski?
I just have a procedural question. Considering that 290 failed, that's higher than the original 272,000, would this be considered a frivolous motion?
I think that people are voting on different sides of that no, so I don't think it's frivolous. I think some people voted against it because they didn't think it was high enough, and some people thought it was too high. So that's my opinion on how that went, but I'm open to suggestions.
My opinion is what I put up. So.
But, if we mix this up a little more, it may become frivolous, so. If you just wait, we can actually vote on it. It's okay.
It takes more time to move the question than it does to.
It wasn't seconded, so I can ignore that. Representative Whitney? Also, it wasn't 10 minutes on this, so I'm just going to ignore it anyway.
Thank you. I'll just be brief. 272 failed by, I think, 2 votes or so. And I would vote for the 280 and not the 305. And I did not vote for the 272.
Thank you. And I think I saw another hand raised in the back. No? Representative Monahan?
Well, I was hoping to vote for 300, but since 305 was offered, I'm telling you I'm voting for 305.
Thank you. This is good. Anyone else? All right. I think we need to break for refreshments soon. We have a motion on the floor for $305,000. All in favor, and this needs a 2/3 majority.
Shall we do?
Can we?
Because it's going to be, let's just do a roll.
Okay, roll call vote.
Okay. Adams?
No.
Bailey?
Yes.
Bordelon?
No.
Casper?
Yes.
Chase?
No.
DeSillo Fleming?
Yes.
Frickman?
Yes.
Hanscom?
Yes.
Katowski?
Yes.
Martin?
I think she.
Made a mistake.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. I meant no. I thought we were doing 280. I'm sorry. Sorry.
Are you retracting?
She's getting punchy.
Are you retracting,
She
Representative?
retracted her
Okay.
vote. Yes, she did.
Okay. So, Katowski?
No.
Okay. Martin? Oh, yeah, Martin?
Yes.
Massett?
No.
McDermott?
No.
Melendez?
No.
Mello Miller?
Yes.
Merritt?
Yes.
Monahan?
Yes.
Newsom?
Yes.
Oliver?
Yes.
Perry?
Yes.
Powers?
Yes.
Richards?
No.
Rogers?
Yes.
Stanford?
Yes.
Starkley? Stevenson?
No.
Irma Streeter?
Yes.
James Streeter?
Yes.
Strode?
Yes.
Washington?
No.
Wells?
No.
Whitehouse?
Yes.
Whitney?
No.
Eben?
No.
19 yes, 14 no. Whoosh.
19 in favor, 14 opposed. That motion fails. We're at $280,000. Representative Streeter?
I would like to move another figure, which was the figure I moved in the committee, which was $288,000.
Is there a second for that? I am feeling this is a little frivolous, to tell you the truth. I think there's rules that will get at this in our rules. I'm going to take a break and look at them. I'm going to look in our rules really quickly without recessing us. We have 300,000 on, and we have 280,000, and I don't think that something that's 2,000 difference is making it. So I'm going to just
It's 8,000.
280. We have 300. Oh, so we have.
I just moved
yeah, okay.
288.
Okay, so we have something that's 8,000. I don't think that's. I think that is kind of frivolous since we've had.
We already voted on 290.
What?
We already voted on 290.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that's frivolous. Sorry. I won't accept it.
Madam Moderator.
Would you like to contest me? Because you can.
I am not a Robert's Rules
That's fine.
aficionado, but I think that's out of order.
Okay, then you can vote to counter my decision.
What's the number?
288.
Well, what's at risk is if the process is not properly followed, then you have the possibility for litigation down the road.
What? You have the process. Say it again. I didn't hear. I'm sorry.
Litigation. If you're not following the rules in approving a budget.
I can make a decision if I believe a motion is frivolous. I've been on this body long enough to have heard that happen before. And if this body disagrees with me, there's a process in our rules to deal with that too. You can vote to overturn my decision.
Madam Moderator, when you discuss frivolous, The council figure was 272.
Yeah.
So we have a figure of $8,000 difference there. I'm adding 16,000 to the 272. So I don't think that's frivolous.
We voted on 272, we voted on 290.
I know, but you didn't raise the objection when they only raised it 8,000 from the 272 as being frivolous.
I guess I'm raising it because we have had 6 numbers on, and they're within 2,000 of each other, some of them, and so it does seem frivolous to me. I'm happy to be overturned on this, but that's my opinion. Representative Whitehouse?
Madam Mayor, I'm inclined to agree that your decision is legal and correct, but the purpose of it is to save time, and I think if we're going to have a long debate over it, it might be faster just to do the similar, to vote on the, we could have voted on the number in the time it's taken us to discuss if we want to vote on the number. Just my thought on that.
Representative Massett?
Number one, I agree that seems kind of arbitrary. We're sort of jumping ship in the middle of the ocean and deciding, it's frivolous. It's not frivolous. Going forward, and a lot of organizations do this, for purposes of budget, establish before we start a dollar amount that is considered frivolous by the body. And I disagree with your decision.
Representative Bailey? Sorry.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Make a request that perhaps we could vote on this as a body, whether to go with the 288 just to put it up on the board. Is that reasonable? Knowing that some people are against it for being frivolous.
I think what you can do is you can vote to
Overturn the ruling.
overturn my ruling of a chair. Right here, it's a majority rule. So why don't you do that? Why don't you appeal the chair's decision? That seems a little cleaner.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Is there a second? Second. We have a motion to overturn my ruling by Representative Bailey. It's been seconded by Representative Powers. That's a simple majority vote. All in favor of that? Oh, excuse me, sorry, let's have some discussion. Representative Chase?
Can you please explain, just so everyone's clear, if we say no, that means we're not overturning. If we say yes, we are overturning.
Yes, if you say yes, then the 288 would go on as another motion we can vote on. And if you say no, then my decision that it's frivolous would stand. That's exactly correct. Representative Mello-Miller?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I'm sorry, I just have to say something. We just approved $8 million for the police, and we are arguing about $10,000, $8,000. This has nothing to do with $10,000. This has to do with people feeling contention towards Groton Long Point and towards a subdivision of the town of Groton. And if we could somehow leave our egos at the door and allow ourselves to think about this not from the people of Groton Long Point or Mumford Cove, but about the fact that these are voters just like us, and we are chosen to represent not just them, but the entire town. If we can approve $8 million, we don't need to squibble over $10,000. So I want to say that I think this is just, it's already 8:38. And we have been talking about $10,000 or $15,000 for over a half an hour.
That's correct. This is this season's lead paint, lead in the water, just so you know. I do want to say that I just want to, kind of counter that, because I think that maybe that's a perception, but the numbers we're talking about are all in excess of what the town council has passed, so I really don't think it can be characterized as some type of vendetta against a part-time. We're actually talking about adding money, not hammering something by subtracting money. So I think that characterization is incorrect. Representative Washington.
As I stated before, I'm supporting the $272,000 that the town council passed. It's not up there now.
We already voted on that,
So
it's gone.
I'm going to support a number close to that number. And the reason why, like I stated before, is because Groton Long Point wants a 14.6% increase, the town police got a 2.6% increase, and the city police got a 5% increase. Okay. And that's why I'm going to support a figure closer to what the town council passed.
So the motion on the floor, just to get us back, is to overrule my decision. So is there any more discussion of that? Representative Casper.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I just agree with Mr. Streeter in that the 280 was 8,000 over the 272, and the 288 is 16,000 over that number. And it is a more, to me, that's a more valid number from what we voted on.
Thank you. Representative Bordelon.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. With all respect, Representative Miller, I can respect your stance, but I do not, growing up in this town of Groton as a whole, meaning every municipality, do I feel that we're being, I respect the moderator's stance. I understand that we're throwing up a bunch of numbers, and the fact that we're looking at a couple $1,000s, the original number of the town council, going in, even though I did not attend the meeting, watching the meeting, the numbers were justified at that meeting. I'm sorry? Yes, I'm backing the, I'm speaking about the frivolous and the vote that's on the floor. That I feel that every municipality is treated with respect, and this is not a disrespect by any means. Let it be $2,000, 10 or 15. We have an obligation and our right to our opinions on numbers, and I feel that, you know, the town council came in with a number. Like Mrs. Washington, I also backed that 272, even though it's no longer there, and my reasons were stated based on the findings that the town council pulled out and the research that's on the documents. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other, Representative Merritt?
As I just stated, I don't believe any of this has a reflection on the motion on the floor to override your.
Okay. You had stated that, now you're stating it again. Is there any other points on this? Representative Monahan?
Well, just that
Sorry.
As to...
You were before.
I think, I sense that you're frustrated that we're having we're struggling over getting the vote. But I don't see anything in the rules that allow you to decide that someone's number is frivolous. I'm a process guy, and I think that the rules, if we stay here until 11 o'clock, we keep putting up numbers, I'm not aware of anything that says that we can't keep
Did you read my letter
trying
to you
to find
guys?
the right number.
Where is it? It's in there. Did you read the letter that I wrote you on it's dated February 25th?
Yes, I did.
Okay. The town clerk tells me it's in there. Sorry. My frustration is really just that I'm punchy, I'm sorry.
Well,
I'm getting tired, but I will find it. I could call on Representative Newsom. I would like to ask him, as the past moderator, have you ever come across a frivolous motion? Because I certainly have in my time on the RTM.
Yes, Madam Moderator. There have been several times when I ruled that a motion was frivolous, but we were talking about like $1,000, $2,000 things. I understand where you're coming from, but I think that we're going to oscillate back and forth.
Yes,
like we usually
so
do,
too.
and the faster we get to that number that's in the middle, the better. But usually when I did, it was, you know, there were some times $500, $1,000. Those are the kind of things I consider frivolous.
Well, we've gone from 272 to 290. We've had 300, and we've had 305. So I feel like these are all pretty close. Any other discussion on this, or shall we vote and to overturn my ruling? This is fine. Let's just do it. Okay, all in favor, again, just to clarify, we're voting to basically appeal a motion, my decision of the chair that that was frivolous. So if you're voting yes, you would be saying that what I said was incorrect, and we will go with Representative Streeter's motion for $288,000. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, so that motion passes. What?
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Nope, one
sorry,
abstention.
one abstention.
Okay, so that's 11 noes.
And how many yeses? I didn't get that part.
It'll be Stanford back? Yep, okay. So 33, 22, yes. It passes.
I think we have
There's
21
no,
in
there's
favor?
20, 22, there's 11. Well, it's
21?
10 noes, one abstention, you count it as a no. So
Well, I would like
11
to count it
noes.
as an abstention.
Well, you can count it any way you want, it's still 11.
Sorry, I believe it's 21 in favor, 11 opposed,
22 in
and
favor,
1 abstention. 'cause
22 in
that-
favor, 10 opposed, and 1 abstention.
So why doesn't it pass?
It passes, that's what I meant. Isn't that what I said?
Yes.
I thought I said that. Didn't I say that? Sorry. I'm getting confused about what I'm saying. So we have a motion on the floor, 288,000. Has that been seconded?
I didn't get a...
Adam seconded it.
Okay.
All right. Representative Casper, would you like to speak on this motion?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Moderator. Yes, I've heard a couple people have said they'd go with the town council. You know, if you're going to vote with the town council every time, there's no sense in us being here. One of the things I point out, I don't believe the town council had the information about the radios being purchased when they voted on it. And I think it's only fair that we reimburse Groton Long Point for the radios. Also, if Representative Whitehouse was correct. If you look at Groton Long Point as an economic engine in this community, it's what, you know, if a company of a company that was the size of Groton Long Point was paying the taxes to this, that we would be bending over backwards to assist them. But because it's viewed as an elite community, there's a certain amount of resentment that I've found from other people, and I don't think you should look at it that way. It's not what they have; it's what they pay, and they pay a lot of money, and they don't require a lot of services from the town. You know, especially you just look at what our school budget. 70% of our taxes go to schools, and communities like Groton Long Point don't see any of that benefit. And they also pay for our police department. They're paying for, you know, our sewers. You know, that's the only thing they use practically is the sewers. And I think they should get a lot more for their money.
Thank you. Representative Stanford?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. This question is to the town manager. With a 14% increase for Groton Long Point Police Department, how is that going to affect the town of Groton taxes overall?
You need a microphone. For that
amount. For that amount, it'd be very minimal. Very minimal, yeah.
Any other? All right, we have a motion on the floor for $288,000. We also need a 2/3 majority to pass this. I think we're probably going to do a roll call vote. So there you go.
Oh, boy. I'm sorry. I just got to make sure I get the right people here and not here, right? Okay. Adams?
Yes.
Bailey?
Yes.
Bordelon?
No.
Casper? Chase?
No.
DeSiller Fleming?
Yes.
Frickman?
Yes.
Gustafson? Oops, I keep doing that. Hanscom?
Yes.
Katowski?
No.
Marshall? Oops, nope, Martin?
Yes.
Massett?
Yes.
McDermott?
Yes.
Melendez?
No.
Mello Miller?
Yes.
Merritt?
Yes.
Monahan?
Yes.
Newsom?
Yes.
Oliver?
Yes.
Perry?
Yes.
Powers?
Yes.
Richards?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Stanford?
Yes.
Starkley?
Yes.
Stevenson?
Yes.
Streeter? Irma?
Yes.
James Streeter?
Yes.
Strode?
Yes.
Washington?
No.
Wells?
No.
Whitehouse?
Yes.
Whitney?
No.
Eben?
No.
That's 26 yes and 8 no.
That passes. 26 in favor, 8 opposed. Thank you, gentlemen, for your fortitude.
Back to the minutes. A motion to adjourn was made by Representative Richards and seconded by Representative Streeter. Meeting adjourned at 7:45 PM. I make a motion to accept the minutes as read. Second.
Second by Monahan, Representative Monahan. We have a motion to accept the minutes of the second RTM Public Safety Subcommittee meeting. Any comments on any of that? No? All right, all in favor of approving those minutes, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? I'm going to call for a 10-minute recess. And I just want to say, I made rhubarb cake with fresh rhubarb from my garden, but it has nuts in it. So a nut alert is going out.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It is 9:05, and we're going to resume after our recess.
How do I follow that last act? So I do have to tell you one thing. So back when we were voting on the dispatch center, the chair at the dispatch center was $5,000. It's going to cost for that, and that chair, you know, somebody was going to be sitting in it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for years, right? And the cost was $5,000. We argued in the RTM for 2.5 hours over $5,000 chair. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, tonight wasn't a record. No. And we were sitting there, you know, I want to see the specifications. Well, show me the other bids that you sent out. $5,000. Anyway. That's so awesome. Anyway, so the first thing we're going to do, the Public Works Committee had 3 meetings. And the first meeting, we'll cover those accounts first, that was for Groton Long Point and the City of Groton highway and streetlight accounts. So I'll read from you the meeting minutes for that meeting. Representative Town meeting, Public Works Committee, April 23rd, 2019 meeting minutes, Groton Senior Center, Classroom B. The meeting was called to order at 7:53 p.m. Note, this meeting was scheduled to follow the RTM Public Safety Committee such that the representatives of the City of Groton and Groton Long Point would only have to come out one night to represent their accounts. And therefore, this meeting could not begin until the Public Safety Committee had adjourned. Committee members present were Representatives Newsom, Wells, Massett, Stanford, and Merritt. Others present were President of Groton Long Point Association Mike Flynn, Groton Long Point Public Works Director Steve Panikoff, City of Groton Mayor Keith Hedrick, City of Groton Director of Finance Ron Uhas, and City of Groton Public Works Director Tim Umerish. Quorum was declared. So the first account 1091, Groton Long Point, Cost Center 10911, Highway Maintenance, page 186 in your budget book. Motion was made for $217,840 by Representative Newsom, seconded by Representative Massett. This motion, which represents the town manager's number, was made for purposes of discussion. Mike Flynn, Steve Panikoff introduced themselves. Mr. Flynn stated that the approximately $38,000 increase over last year's budget was due to a new 3-year snow plowing contract and $20,000 for replacement of the pickup truck. Representative Massett asked if the GLP participates in the town fleet fund. Mr. Flynn stated that the GLP doesn't purchase enough vehicles to be in the fleet fund. They're hoping to purchase their truck through the state fleet account, however. The present truck is a 2006 Chevy with 10,000 miles. They're hoping to purchase a 2019 Ford F-150. Although the existing truck has low miles, sand, salt, and corrosion have rotted out the undercarriage. Mr. Panikoff noted that the Public Works building was put up 4 years ago and provides shelter for the truck. Representative Stanford asked if the Chevy was purchased individually or through the town. It was bought individually. Discussion turned to the 10% increase in the snowplow budget. Mr. Flynn stated that the previous contractor had underbid. The new contractor has the resources to do the required work. The GLP buys their sand from the town. Representative Newsom made a motion for $210,501, the number approved by the town council, which represents a 6% increase in the operating budget, as opposed to a 10% increase, which they originally asked for. The motion was seconded by Representative Bassett. There was some additional discussion about the MS4 stormwater requirements. A vote was taken for the amount of $210,501 for cost center 10911, GLP highway maintenance. The motion passed with Representatives Massett, Newsom, Stanford, and Wells in favor. Representative Merritt opposed.
Do you want to put that motion on the floor?
Madam Moderator, I make a motion for $210,501. Well, actually, first, why don't we?
So we have the city up here, so.
Well, okay, we can do.
You're reading your minutes are different than, if you want to take it out of order, it's fine with me to take it out of order, but we can also keep moving on until you get to the city.
Yeah,
It's just the account right after you.
What account are we doing?
You guys are 10911 for, oh no, you guys are 10901, highway maintenance for the city, and Groton Long Point is 10911. And Representative Newsom just read the minutes, which included the Groton Long Point.
Correct. Because during the Public Works RTM meeting, Groton Long Point went first.
Okay.
And then the city went after that. On this agenda, the city is listed first, followed by Groton Long Point.
Do you want to keep
So that
reading?
may be where the confusion.
And
All Scott's doing, correction, all Representative Newsom's doing is reading the appropriate minutes for
From our
both
meeting.
sections, right, from the meeting.
Okay.
So we can't, you don't want to move that number because that's the wrong.
It's subject to change.
Yeah, we can change it, that's fine. Why don't we hear from Groton Long Point real quick? Just sit next to Mayor Hedrick if you can. Thank you.
Before we put a motion on the floor, could I ask if there's any discussion on the minutes?
Yeah.
Is there anybody want to change the minutes?
Representative Stevenson?
I'm sorry. I was looking at Groton City that whole time. Could you quickly run through that one more time? I apologize. I don't know if anyone else is looking at the wrong account, but I was looking at Groton City.
Sorry.
The mayor of Groton up there.
So at the time that we had our meeting, I made the decision to do Groton Long Point first because I thought that would be faster. We just get them done, and then we could talk about the city. Typically, the city is a more in-depth conversation. So I made the decision to take the Groton Long Point first. So that's the confusion is caused by me. Account 1091, Groton Long Point, cost center 10911, highway maintenance, on page 186. Motion was made for $270,840 by Representative Newsom, seconded by Representative Massett. Represents the town manager's number. Was made for purposes of discussion. You want me to just read the whole thing, or
No.
No? Okay. The bottom line is, the committee passed $210,501 for that account, for account 10911, cost center 10911, for account 1091, Groton Long Point, and 10911 is highway maintenance. That account, that figure, $210,501, was the number that was approved by the town council, and what it represents is a 6% increase in the Groton Long Point operating budget. They requested a 10% increase originally.
What was that percentage again, sorry?
The percentage that was approved was 6%.
So that number is $210,501. So Representative Newsom asked if there was any discussion on his minutes that he just read. Representative Stevenson again?
What year was that vehicle again?
2006? 2006 with 10,000 miles. So it's a low miles vehicle, but it's basically out there in the sand and the salt every day. And especially hauling away seaweed and stuff down on the beach, there tends to be a lot of corrosion.
All right, so would you like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion for 210, I have to read the board, it's not there. $210,501
501?
Yeah, that's what it is.
$210,501 or dollar for account 10911 or cost center 10911. GLP highway maintenance.
No. That's the city's account number. No, the other.
10911.
10911.
Yes, it is. 1091.
No, 11. 11. There you go.
All right.
On a positive note, we still
Sorry,
haven't started
wrote it down
arguing
wrong.
for 2.5 hours over a $5,000 chair.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor for account 10911, which is Groton Long Point Highway Maintenance. It's been made by Representative Newsom, and it was seconded by Representative Bailey. Yes. And is there any discussion on that motion? Representative Rogers?
Yes, I have a question about the percentage increase, actually. The budget book states that last year was 179,813, so just by my calculation, that's a 17% increase. Is that, am I looking at?
Well, unfortunately, I put the truck in the operating line item. At that point, it's not a CIP project. It's covered under operations, actually, where the town explained that to me. So the truck has made it going up, because the truck's a one-time purchase. But that made it jump.
So we should subtract the
No, actually, the truck it's supposed to be in, when you buy a truck, it's supposed to be in your operating at that point there. And I kind of looked at a CIP, but it still lumped it together. So the 20,000 this year was only for the truck. And that's a one-time purchase. I thought it'd be a CIP at one time, but they don't do that way in the highway department.
So this, sorry, so
That's
the
okay.
210,501 includes the cost of the truck?
Yes.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. And that,
That's why the percentages seem messed up, is the truck is included.
so when you're calculating the 6%, you're taking out the cost of the truck?
Right.
Bingo.
So it's an apples to apples comparison from last year.
I have a question, if it's okay to ask, sir. I know that there's a line item for snow and ice removal that includes 37 roads, sidewalks, parking areas, and the cost of sand and chemicals, which is bid out for $60,960. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And I was wondering about those sidewalks. Do you shovel all residential sidewalks?
You had mentioned that at the council
I'm just
meeting as well,
curious
too.
of the extent of
And
it.
again, most of the sidewalks are not in front of homes. Most of the homes actually border the road itself. Most of the sidewalks are either on the public land, actually the marshes, the beach areas at that point, where most of the sidewalks are located.
So you don't shovel out residential homes then?
No, there's no sidewalks in front of most of the residential in
Okay.
Groton Long Point.
Thank you. All right, and I would just clarify, I believe we're not able to actually act on this account substantively as a body. This is just a matter of rubber stamping it, to use the really correct phrase there. Representative Bordelon?
Actually, Madam Moderator, could we please have the town manager explain that?
Thank you. But, okay.
We've had a couple times opinions by our town attorneys into this. The RTM cannot change the number. The town is the final authority on the number. But then it gets weird when it comes to the RTM because the charter requires the RTM to pass the number. If they chose not to, the town would be in the position of having to still add in the number for the highways, and then it would be off from what the RTM passed. So the legal opinion is, please put it in there. But, and I brought a couple of copies of the opinion too. Actually, I queued it up. If people have an interest, I just queued up an email to go to everyone that contains a copy if you want to have it.
Thank you. Representative Bordelon?
That is now set.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. In regards to the truck, sorry, I'm looking through you. With only 10,000 miles, that's quite low, and I understand there's erosion. It would seem to me that maybe you could look at properly undercoating it. There's different things to proof it fireproof like the vehicle a little bit, maybe the lining and underneath, so that you can get more than $10,000 out of a truck that's.
Well, we're hoping actually to use the new Ford aluminum body, and we hope to get hopefully 10 plus years out of it with the aluminum body.
Okay.
Our problem is the rusting and steel.
So you're looking into ways to kind of preserve that and get more life out of the truck.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Representative Chase?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Mr. Burt, can you please explain, I'm a Y person, can you explain why we have to rubber stamp a number, please?
There's a special act for both the city and Groton Long Point that actually that lays out legally the requirements for the highway budget. And actually, there's attachment, the email I just sent you has the city one in it. There's similar wording in the GLP. Let me try to find it here. Where it actually lays out the process for setting it, and it says this town sets it, the town council. Well, it says Board of Selectmen, which has become the town council. And then there's kind of a long opinion on why that means it's the town council and not the RTM. But then again, and then, like I said, the RTM, though, needs to include it in the budget.
Thank you. Any other questions? Are we ready to move on $210,501 for account 10911, Groton Long Point Highway? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. Oliver, Monahan, and Evan. That motion passes, 30 in favor, 0 opposed, and 3 abstentions. Is that correct? Yep. All right. The next item, if you want to continue, Representative Newsom.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Account 1091, Groton Long Point, Cost Center 10912, streetlights. That's also on page 186. Motion was made for $17,019 by Representative Massett, seconded by Representative Merritt. This amount represents the estimated cost for the Groton Long Point share of the town's streetlights. After a brief discussion about streetlight replacement, since this is essentially a pass-through, the vote was taken for Cost Center 10912, GLP streetlights. The vote was unanimous, 5 in favor, 0 opposed, for $17,019.
Is there a motion?
Is there any discussion on that?
1709?
Well, it's not a motion yet.
17019, yes.
Oh, you're voting on the minutes?
Yeah, I'm just asking.
No,
if
he's
there's
not
any-
voting, he's just asking for feedback.
If anybody was there who disagrees with the minutes? Seeing none, I'll make a motion for $17,019.
Is there a second? We have a motion, which has been made by Representative Newsom and seconded by Representative Bailey for $17,019, and that's for Cost Center 10912, and that is Groton Long Point street lighting. Is there any discussion or questions on this one? Representative Washington?
As I understand it, the town gets the bill from Groton Utilities, and then they split it with Groton Long Point?
All in favor? Should we go to a vote? I don't see any other hands. So all in favor of $17,019 for Cost Center 10912, which is Groton Long Point street lighting, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion passes. Thank you. 33 in favor, unanimous. And now we're going to switch over to the City of Groton, I believe. Or maybe we'll see. We'll see where.
You never know. We could vote on chairs. So account 1090, account 1090, City of Groton, Cost Center 10901, Highway Maintenance, on page 182 in your budget book. Motion was made for $1,999,982 by Representative Massett, seconded by Representative Merritt. Mayor Hedrick, Director Uhas, and Director Umrich, sorry. Introduced themselves. It was explained that the money associated with the town 5-year street paving bond will be depleted by the end of the year. Representative Massa asked if the bond helped and how. Mayor Hedrick explained that there was about $431,000 left to spend in the bond fund, and that the money for the bond is split up between the town, the city, and Groton Long Point over 5 years, which allows planning to occur over those 5 years, so the projects can be prioritized over that period rather than just waiting each year for a budget vote and then getting the money that gets voted for that year. The city and Groton Long Point still have to go before the town council each year to present their projects. Representative Massa stated that part of the rationale for doing the bond was for getting the streets all over the town to the same level so that we could do a consistent maintenance plan. The remainder of the bond money goes to paying, will be going to paving Benham Road, and $220,000 will allow lot SIP funds of $2.2 million for repaving Pequannock Road up to 5 corners. There's also discussion about whether or not the town will apply for a new 5-year bond. If not, then these large projects will just fall under CIPs. There was discussion about the 3 proposed truck replacements. One's a 2002 truck used for surveying, the second is a 2004 F-350, and the third is a 2006 truck used by supervisors with 86,000 miles on it. Representative Massa asked if electric boats and pending growth will cause additional wear throughout the city. Probably not, given that the increased traffic will be localized to a few roads. The mayor noted that the cost for the stormwater initiative, MS4, will probably go up next year, and will go up each year. Representative Wells talked about New London forming their own stormwater utility. Mayor Hedrick said that doing that allows you to put a surcharge on residents based on flow. Representative Stanford asked about MS4 and point source versus non-point source. Point source is where a specific source can be pinpointed as the cause of the contamination. A non-point source would be like fertilizer from everyone's yard running off into the sound. A vote was taken for cost center 10901, City of Groton Highway Maintenance, for $1,999,982. Motion carried unanimously.
Is there any comments on those minutes?
Tell me I got that right. No.
No? Would you like to make a motion?
I will make a motion. Oh.
Was there any discussion about the fact that that figure, you didn't really have any options about what was in that figure, and how that figure was arrived by the town and the city and their arbitration, not arbitration, but their meeting?
We didn't treat it like we didn't have a choice. I mean, people kind of dug in and asked a lot of very specific, detailed questions. It's one thing to realize that you may not have a choice, but we still didn't, like I said, we didn't treat it that way. So understanding that, like the town manager had said, basically the town council sets the number and we don't go below that or any different from that. So no. I mean, we could have just said, well, here's the number, let's vote. But we didn't.
So would you like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion for $1,999,982.
Second. We have a motion on the floor made by Representative Newsom and seconded by Representative Bailey for cost center 10901, City of Groton Highway Maintenance for $1,999,982. Are there any questions or comments on this? Representative Chase?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. How many miles of roads do you have in this city?
28.
28. So according to a document that I have here, since 2013, you've repaved 27 miles of that. So my question is, what do you do to maintain these roads for all this money when they don't need paving?
Well, I'm not sure where the 27 miles came from. That's not our figure.
City of Groton, Connecticut, operating indicators by function program last 10 fiscal years. I believe it came from, well, I'm not sure, I can't remember because I've done so much research, but I have it here. And irregardless of how many, what do you do to maintain roads for all of this money, since you get basically the same amount or more money each year when you don't need to repave?
We're doing sidewalks, curb and gutters, catch basins, everything to maintain the structure, sign work.
Okay, and Mr.
Snow
Burt,
plow.
if you could email me or everyone where it is in writing that we can never change these numbers so that we can understand this?
I emailed it to you a few minutes ago.
A few minutes ago?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe the city clerk had also emailed it, town clerk, sorry, really losing my brain here. The town clerk had emailed it previously. I think we saw it last year too, it's not a new document.
Well,
Representative Monahan, did you?
Yeah, I was going to say that I got an email today because I remembered this discussion last year, and with all of the stuff that comes down, Madam Clerk had already emailed all of us, all of you who want to be lawyers, the opinions, 10, 12 pages are there, read them, and weep. And the reason I asked the question about how you discuss this, and I'm not opposed to people asking questions of these gentlemen, how they arrived at these figures. My point is it's 9:30, and it doesn't matter. Whatever you ask, the figure is firm, and they're asking you to approve it. And I'm going to abstain again because I believe the law abhors a useless act, and I am not going to vote for something over which I have no say. So, and if all of the members of the RTM did that, then the town would have to come up with the money. So I frankly don't think many of you are going to be following me into this abyss, but it's a matter of principle. So the issue about this figure and how it's arrived, because I know Representative Chase has a bunch of papers from, there are a couple of people who really, have a lot of contention about how this figure has arrived. And I'm not speaking to that because it requires a lot of work to figure all that out. But if you want to get involved, we have to get involved as RTM members prior to that process, or at least attend meetings where that occurs. But now is not the time. Ask away, but it's a waste of time.
Thank you. Representative Mello Miller.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Mayor Hendrick, can you remind us again, I know they talked about it in the last, with Groton Long Point, how much does the city pay in taxes compared to the town of Groton residents? What's the difference?
You're referring to the Pfizer electric boat, that part of it's the taxes?
No.
The additional taxes that city residents pay, isn't it? Like,
Correct, city residents are paying.
Well, my fire district tax.
well, it includes
My city
sanitation
tax-
too, and an
Right,
extra
my city
planner.
tax-
Yeah.
So do you have
It's
a?
not simply a fire tax.
Oh, do you have like a round number of a percentage that compared to town residents, what you pay? Do you know?
Well, the mill rate is, the current mill rate is we're going to what, 4.39?
I'm just trying to get a comparison.
My mill rate's going to 4.3, but if you look at the taxes that are paid out of District 2 and District 3, it is about 35% of the total tax base of the town of Groton. Is that what you're looking for?
I believe I was just trying to get a comparison, because if we're going to talk about roads and et cetera, if city residents are paying extra in taxes to go towards roads or police, et cetera, that's what I was just trying to figure out, so that we can understand the disparity.
Well, the bottom line is the city of Groton residents pay town taxes because we're a political subdivision. That's required by the Connecticut General Statute. And those are town taxes for no services that we receive. And then our fire district tax basically covers not just fire, but it covers fire, police, half of the police, plus my chief's salary. It covers Parks and Rec, planning, zoning, everything else. I mean, it covers the full government that we have at the city. Is that what you're getting at?
Yes, so in addition to what they pay, what additional tax burden is that on city residents? Oh, I'm sorry.
My current mill rate is 4.5.
So 4.5. Okay, thank you very much.
Representative Newsom.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I would ask Mayor Hedrick or Town Manager to talk about this report that was recently released in March and what the city and the town will be doing with regards to getting together on some of these highway issues.
John, you want to lead that, or you want me to lead that? You mean? Okay. I think everyone here has received this electronically. This is the Town and City of Groton, Connecticut Highway Operations Comparative Analysis. The project report dated March 2019. Have you guys seen this? Okay, it is available. It is on both the town website and the city website. There was a comparative analysis conducted by the Novak Group. They spent several months working with us and working with city and town representatives. And basically, the bottom line is the city is doing what's right for the city and the town is doing what's right for the town. And I know that in the past there has been some contention. There was an issue. There's a very simple formula that's out there of cost per road mile. I would tell you that when that was embraced in the past by the town council, that resulted in arbitration. It resulted in an $830,000 cut to the city. We then went to arbitration. We prevailed in the arbitration. And one of the things that came out of the arbitration was the arbiter recommended that the city and town conduct this study. John and I got together and got our groups together, got our departments together, and we conducted this study. There are 9 recommendations that have come out of this. We have, because it came out in March, what are we doing in March? We're doing the budget. So once we finish the budget season, then John and I will get together, we will get our teams together, and then come up with a plan of action, if you will, to evaluate the recommendations and a way forward with the recommendations. Does that answer, that was your question. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. I just wanted people to understand that this report had come out in March and that the city and the town had plans to get together and act on the 9 recommendations that were in here. Some of them I think are going to be a little more difficult than others, but I think that some of them are workable. So that's encouraging.
Regardless of what happens with the report, there are going to be people that are going to embrace it, and there are going to be people that are going to be against it. And that's just the way it is. If you are looking to find a problem, you're going to find a problem if you're looking hard enough. And if you're a hammer, every solution is a nail. So this is an attempt with the city and town to work together collaboratively to try to mend fences and build bridges. For those of you that have been around a while, you will know that there has been, I guess friction is the word that I would use, between the councils of the city and the town in the past. The town manager and I meet once a month. We talk to each other probably 2 or 3 times a week about issues. I meet with Mayor Granatowski once a month, and our councils have joint meetings once a quarter, and my department heads are talking to the town's department heads, and we are working on collaborative efforts and working on efforts where we can work together to support each other. So those are the kinds of things that we're trying to do. That's the climate that we're trying to establish, because we do all live and work together in the same area. So I don't know if that helps you one way or another, but that's where we are, or at least that's where I am. So.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Representative Oliver?
Yeah, just curious, what is the cost per mile to maintain roads versus the city and the town? Do you have that number?
I don't have it directly offhand. I mean, you could take, if you wanted to do the math, you could take what the total cost is and divide it by miles. I mean, that's what got us into this mess.
Right. I'm just curious.
It is a simple formula for a complex problem. Right? I mean, that's the challenge that we have. I mean, my contention is if you look at the city is more urban. Let's say, for example, you look at my sidewalks. When you look at my sidewalks directly abut the road. The town, if you look at some of the sidewalks in the town, there are snow shelves. So that's meaning you got the road. You have the road, then you have that strip, and then you got a strip of grass. Then you have the sidewalk. That snow shelf protects that sidewalk somewhat from the salt and from the elements, those kind of things. Another thing is that when you're looking at catch basins, because one of the things we got into basically measuring. I would say, well, we have so many catch basins. Well, we have this many catch basins. But part of this is density of catch basins and what we have to do, age of catch basins. Sometimes when we are inspecting our catch basins, we have to totally rebuild a catch basin. Some of these catch basins go back to 1900s. It's not like you just open up and you plug and play. It ends up being a challenge. Another thing is, I start out with about 10,000 people in the city of Groton every day, and thankfully, due to Electric Boat, EB, and Yukon Avery Point, my traffic goes up to increases by about 20,000 people a day. It goes 20,000 in, 20,000 out. That is a lot of road wear on the roads, and in the wintertime with the sand and the salt and those kind of things. So our roads do take a beating. I'm not saying that the town doesn't have areas in the town that are urban, but if you're doing a comparison, one of the things you got to look at is you got to look at how many state roads you have, right? And how many state roads does the city have? Clarence B. Sharp clearly is a state road. 349, that's our state road. But if you look at Route 1 and Route 12 and all that, that's a state road, and there's a lot of businesses on that road. So, it is complex when you start trying to compare back and forth. And so what they did was, instead of saying, okay, we're going to compare the city and town, which is what people want to do, they said, let's look at like towns across the state for the city of Groton, and like towns across the state for the town of Groton, and do a comparative analysis then. And what they found was, for the like comparison, the town was doing it comparatively the same way for their comparison towns, and the city was okay with their comparison towns as well. So I don't know if I answered someone's question or if I just talked a lot, but it is a complex problem.
Thank you. Representative Chase?
Thank you. I did do the math, and the figures I came out with was 31,000 per mile for the town and 71,000 per mile for the city. And I'm still not understanding, because I'm not in your business, why it costs the same amount to maintain the roads as it does to pave, if you're getting the same dollar amount or more each year. And also, I'm not happy that we can't change numbers either.
I know some of it has to do with the curbing, is that correct? That was my understanding from previous discussions of this in previous years.
And there's a difference in the way that the budgets are presented too. When you look at the roads and streets budget in the Public Works Department, that doesn't include all the non-departmentals and all the benefits associated with those employees. The city's budget includes all of those employee benefits, the health insurance, the pension, the OPEB, the workers' comp, and the capital that's being asked for. So I don't know. So there is a difference in budgeting, if that's where the two numbers are coming from.
Okay, so I've heard many different scenarios of that. I've heard that they're comparing apples to apples. So I'm not sure what it should be.
All right. When I bring to you a budget, and let me be specific, when I bring to you my police budget, and when I bring to you my roads and highways budget, it is a fully loaded budget. It is a fully burdened budget. For those of you that are unfamiliar with those terms, in the business sense, when they go pay, when you pay $100 an hour for somebody, the guy that's doing the work's not putting $100 in his pocket, right? There's overhead costs, there's expenses, those kind of things. That's where your burdening and your overhead, the fully burdened budget is. When Gary Snyder submits his budget, it is an O&M budget, operation and maintenance budget. John has, town manager has the non-departmentals, meaning insurances, OPEB, pension, those kind of things. He has them all together in separate budgets. All his departments are in one line item. So when you're looking at Gary's budget and you're looking at my budget, you're looking at apples and oranges. You're not looking at apples to apples until you fully load them.
So why can't we get to apples so we can make an informed decision? Not that we have the right to make another decision, but it would make it easier.
Well, that's what the report is.
Yeah, I think the report was one step in that direction. So since we can't vote on this in a substantive manner, I would suggest, Representative Bailey?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I request to move the question.
Just about to ask for the.
Yeah, it's fine.
Oh, come on, really? We have 2 votes? Really?
All right, so we're going to end discussion on this. It takes 2/3 majority. All in favor of ending discussion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Please raise your hand. 3. Bartowski, Chason, and Newsom. Any abstentions? 1. Okay, that motion passes. 29 in favor, 3 opposed, 1 abstention. I'm getting really good at math. Just so you know.
That's a great one. It's 33.
So we have a motion on the floor, $1,999,982 for account 10901, which is the City of Groton Highway Maintenance. And all in favor of that, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? 1. Any abstentions?
Okay, I gotta write you down.
Evan. Monahan. Cutter. Oliver. DeCilio, Fleming. Whitehouse. And Washington.
And
Oh, Katowski and McDermott. Sorry, I didn't see those. So that motion passes.
So 24 in favor, 1 opposed, and 8 abstentions.
24 in favor, 1 opposed, and
8 abstentions.
8 abstentions. Thank you, that passes. Thank you. So then, you continue, please, Representative Newsom.
Yes, ma'am. Account 1090, City of Groton, Cost Center 10904, streetlights. Motion was made for $118,500 by Representative Newsom, seconded by Representative Massett. There was a brief discussion on Groton Utilities streetlight replacement with LEDs. Representative Wells talked about the no-interest loan used to buy and install the LEDs, and in 5 years will be paid off, whereas Groton Utilities had raised rates with no corresponding plan to reduce them after the cost of the LEDs had been recovered. Mayor Hedrick stated that he did not know why Groton Utilities made that decision. Representative Massett stated that part of the problem may be that the Groton Utilities had undercounted the number of lights that need to be replaced. The mayor stated that he would have the appropriate Groton Utilities representatives present for this account when the full RTM met. A vote was taken for $118,500 for Cost Center 10904, City of Groton streetlights. The vote was unanimous in favor.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on that those minutes that were read? No? Would you like to put a motion on the floor for us?
I make a motion for $118,500.
All right, we have a motion on the floor for $118,500 made by Representative Newsom and seconded by Representative Streeter. And
must be
this
getting
is
late.
for account 10904, which is the highway street lighting. Representative Casper?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Is the representative here from Groton Utilities?
He was.
I intend to answer the questions as best as I can. If I need to reach out, I will phone a friend.
Well,
What?
please
well,
do.
ask-
So the
then
question.
ask me a question,
So the
and
question-
I will answer your question.
The question is, what is the basis for the rate increase that Groton Utilities provided, such that we get to the point where it actually costs more to have the LEDs than it does to have the low-pressure sodium lights that we just replaced?
If we would have kept the high-pressure sodium lights in place, the increase in the cost this year would have been $8,712. That would have been the increase. Now, so what's that? We just completed a cost of service study. And so, an independent cost of service study, and as a result of that, some rates went up. But that's the all-in, all-inclusive study. But let me explain something. I'm going to. When you want to replace high-pressure sodium lights with LEDs, you're not going down to Home Depot and buying a box of these and going and getting a scissor lift and going up and changing out the bulb, putting the new bulb in, and watch your meter slow down so that you save power. That's not how it works. Okay? It's not how it works in the city. It's not how it works in a town. It's not how it works anywhere else. The light heads had to be changed in order to accommodate the LEDs. And it's not just that the city did it, the town did it as well. And when they replaced it, they replaced the entire fixtures. While the city was in replacing the fixtures, they went in and they found that some of the wires were bad, so they had to replace the wires. And so in the process, what they did was they replaced the Cobra heads and they replaced the wires, and so now you have new fixtures. The way that a business, for those of you that have businesses will understand this, typically what you do is you amortize your assets over the life of that asset. These assets, these lights were amortized for 25 years. That is industry standard for these lights. What my understanding of what the town did was the town purchased the lights from Eversource. The reason they could do that is there was legislation out there that for an IOU, an investor-owned utility, that the municipality could purchase the lights and the maintenance contract and everything else from that utility. They did that, and they chose an option to where they have what they consider a 5-year return. But even after the 5-year return, the number for the streetlights is not going to be down into the $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $10,000 range. You're never going to get there. I mean, if that's what your expectation is, you can't get there from here. Now, the other thing is that what you are getting is that you are getting, because these are LEDs and because they use less power, you are paying less overall for the consumption of power from those lights. Now, one of the challenges that we have, and this is just another thing that the town and the city get to deal with, is that if you lived in Norwich, Norwich Public Utilities covers all of Norwich. If you go to Jewett City, Power and Water covers all of Jewett City. If you go to Basra, same thing. You go to 3rd Taxing District, same thing. Here in the town of Groton, part of the area is powered by Groton Utilities, and part of the area is powered by Eversource. So you have two different providers powering the same municipality, meaning the town of Groton. Part of it is through one, part of it is through another, and there are different rates. Our rates typically, in general, the residential rates are about 25 to 28% less than the Eversource rates. Now, that's not always true with the LED lights, and I don't remember exactly how they stack up here. But one of the questions was, how much did we do and how much is left? We did 95.38% of the project is completed, so the real question you're asking is how much is left, not percentage, but how many lights. We have 94 lights remaining to be complete, and I have a commitment from GU that work will be completed by the end of this fiscal year. So by the end of 30 June, I should have all the GU-owned lights replaced LED. There are some lights that are privately owned that are not GU-owned, and they may or may not be replaced, and that depends on the customer. So like I said, if we would have stayed at the high-pressure sodium lights, the increase would have been about $8,700, close to $9,000. But what happened is we changed the lights, we amortized the lights for 25 years, we did a cost of service study, so that changed the rate, and the rate for the high-pressure sodium lights is different than the rate for the LED lights. So it's a layered kind of problem that ends up being, if you look at the last 2 years and the next year, it's relatively flat with a slight increase, about $3,000 a year increase, I think. If you were to go in, if you look at Gary's budget later on, I know you will, you'll see that there's also an increase on his side as well. So, and that's from the method that they have chosen to do. There was a question about the audit. Did we do the audit, and what did we find in the audit? In the conduct of the audit, we found that there were 2 streetlights that were not being billed, and so now they are now being billed. And then there was a question about the difference in the lights, and we got the police involved in the lights. We also talked to the manufacturer. We looked at an equal or greater lumen output for the same cost that we could get throughout when GU replaced the lights. They also had great color resolution, and let's see what else. I think that's all that I have for now. I will take other questions that hopefully I can answer. If I can't, like I said, I'll phone a friend.
Representative Newsom?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. So when the town did this, this was basically sold on the fact that after 5 years, the town would pay off the cost of the new LED installation, and after that, power levels, we'd be charged, our rates would go down. So that is what the town decided to do. So after 5 years, we will have those lights paid off, and the amount of power we'll be using should noticeably decrease. It's decreased now, but it's a question of when will we see the payoff. And that project was basically sold on in 5 years when we start to get our payback.
Thank you. And Representative Wells?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I think I may have a handle on this. If, as we go along and these lights are paid off and so on, if one of the town lights winks out, we have to climb the pole and pay to replace it. Whereas with the city, they're pretty much factoring in the cost of maintaining the lights. If the light falls off the pole, they'll put it back up.
Right. As my understanding, I do not have direct knowledge of this, but my understanding, and you can ask the right people when, you know, when it's time, is that the town has a maintenance budget that they're gonna be having for these streetlights. And with GU, it's there. It's part of the cost for these lights.
All right, so I think we are ready to vote on this number. 118,500 for account number 10904, which is the City of Groton street lighting. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? One abstention. That motion passes, 32 in favor, none opposed, one abstention.
So since there were no other items on the agenda for that night, a motion was made to adjourn. The motion passed unanimously. The meeting adjourned at 9:17 p.m. Respectfully submitted, Scott Newsom. Madam Moderator, I move to accept the minutes of the April 23rd, 2019 RTM Public Works Committee meeting.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes of the Public Works Committee of the RTM. It's been made by Representative Newsom and seconded by Representative Monahan. Any discussion? No? Any, no questions, so all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion carries unanimously, 33 in favor. Thank you, Representative Newsom, for your fortitude. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Mayor
Thank you,
Hedrick.
RTM, for your efforts and for what you did tonight. Thank you very much. Thank you, John. We'll talk later.
So we've come to the veritable witching hour of the RTM. Some of us may be happy about this, but what it means is we still have many things on our agenda, and at 10 o'clock, we will only proceed forward with a majority of folks in favor of proceeding forward. As I mentioned before, we do have the 13th of May reserved for a kind of an additional meeting. We could put things there, and we also have, I think, the 22nd of May. So I would just like to ask by a kind of casual show of hands, who is in favor of adjourning now and reconvening?
That's it. Good night.
Okay. And who's opposed? Okay. I think that motion carries to recess, rather, not adjourn. So do I take a motion to recess?
Just do it.
Okay. We're recessed by unanimous consensus.
Monday, the 6th.
So we're going to be meeting, we're going to be meeting on May 6th is our next scheduled meeting. And we do have an agenda. I just want to get a sense of the body, especially while some of our public work folks are here. If May 6th, if we should put the public works items that we haven't done at the beginning of May 6th. Gary?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider? No?
He doesn't know.
Mr. Burt? Does that seem like acceptable? Okay, so let's plan on that then. Thank you so much. We'll see you on Monday. Have a great weekend.
Monday we